Welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to create this reorderable drag-and-drop sortable card layout using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Here you can see when I drag a card over other cards, they move to make space for the dragging card. And when I release the dragged card, it will occupy that space in the card layout. The rearrangement of the card layout is automatically saved each time a change is made. Here you can see the rearranged card layout stays the same after reloading the page. Let's change the card layout again. Then let's reload the page. Here you can see the card layout stays the same after reloading the page. Now let's take a look at how the rearrangements of the card layout are saved in the browser. For that, I'm going to go to the browser inspect. Then I'm going to go to application. Then local storage. File. Here this is where the card rearrangement stores. Card sortable example as the key, and reordered card numbers as the value. Here when I change the card layout, the order of the card numbering changes as well in the local storage. And also, the card layout is adaptive for smaller screens. As I resize the screen, here you can see the card layout adapts to the screen size well. Now let's see the file setup of this project. Here you can see the index.html file for the HTML part. In the CSS folder, style.css file for the CSS part. In the images folder, image files for the cards. In the JS folder, main.js file for the main JavaScript part, and the sortable.js file for the sortable.js library pre-written JavaScript codes. Now let's start to code the project. Here I have opened the project index.html file, and its live preview is displayed on the right side of the window, allowing you to see the visual changes of the project in real time. In the HTML file, I have already included the basic tags and comments to start the project HTML part. First, I'm going to start to code the section with the card layout. Starting with a section tag. Inside the section tag, a div tag with the class name main container. In the main container, a div tag with the class name card container. Then a div tag with class the name card for a card. Inside that, a div tag with the class name card img for the card image. Then I'm going to add an image for the card using img tag. Here, in the image folder, these are the images I'm going to use for the card images. Now, let's add an image for the card. In Images folder, img01.jpg. Here you can see the appearance of the image. Now I'm going to add a div tag for the card info with class name card info. Inside that, h2 tag with class name title. As the card1 title, I'm going to add card1. Then a paragraph tag for the card description. For the paragraph tag, I'm going to add a dummy text. Now the HTML part of a card is complete. Here you can see the card image, title, and the description. Now we have to move to the CSS part of the card layout. For that, first I'm going to link the style.css file to the index.html file. Link. Here in the CSS folder, style.css file. Here in the link tag, css/style.css. Now, let's move to the style.css file. Here, I've already imported the Google fonts with Poppins font family. Under the main CSS, for the universal selector, I have already added font family as Poppins sans serif. Here you can see the title and the paragraph in Poppins font style. Now, for the universal selector, I'm going to add margin to 0, padding to 0, box sizing to, border box. Then for the body tag, min height, 100 viewport height, background, with hex color code. Now I'm going to get the section tag. For the section tag, max width 1170 pixels. Margin left, auto. Margin right, auto. Here is the current preview of the page. Now let's style the card layout section. First, I'm going to style the class name main container. Display flex. Justify content, center. Align items, center. Padding, 5 EM and 0. Here is the preview of the page after applying styles to the main container. Now let's style the class name card. Position, relative. Background, with hex color code. Width, 350 px. Height, fit content. Box shadow, 05 px and 25 px. RGB 000.2. Overflow hidden. Here you can see the preview of the card. Now we need to adjust the card image width so that it fits properly within the width of the card. For that, I'm selecting the class name card IMG and IMG tag. For the card image, I'm going to set width to 100%. Now you can see the card image fits properly within the width of the card. Now let's style the card info elements. I'm going to select the class name card info. Position, relative. Padding, 20 px. Text align, center. Here we centered the card info elements. Now for the card title. Color, with hex color code. Font size, 1.75 EM. Font weight, 700. Margin bottom, 10 px. Here's the card title. Then card description. Color with hex color code. Font size, 1 EM. Font weight, 400. Margin bottom, 15 px. Here's the card description. Now our card styling is complete. Now let's add the remaining cards to the HTML page. First, I'm going to select the card HTML code and copy. Paste here. For the second card, I'm going to change the image as img02.jpg. and the title is card 2. Then another copy of the card. Image as img03.jpg. Title as card 3. Here you can see the second and third card we added to the page. Let's add the other remaining cards. Another copy of the card. Image as img4.jpg. Title as card 4. Another copy. Image as img5.jpg. Title as card 5. Now we have added all cards to the page. Here, in the preview, you can see that all the cards are displayed in a single column. So, let's organize the card layout on the full page into rows and columns. For that, I'm going to select the class name card container. Paste here. Display grid. Grid template columns. Repeat. 3, 1 FR. Here you can see the card layout organized on the page into rows and columns using grids. Now let's add gaps into the card layout. Place items. Center. Column gap. 2.5 EM. Row gap. 2.5 EM. Here you can see the card layout, which includes gaps on each card. Now let's make our card layout adaptive for smaller screens using CSS media queries. First, I'm going to make the card layout responsive for devices with a screen width of 1250 pixels or less. For that, I'm using media screen and max width to 1250px. First, I'm going to close the live preview. Then I'm going to open the index.html file directly from the browser. Now get the inspect of the page. Here you can see the card layout doesn't adapt to smaller screens. Now let's make changes. For the card container, I'm going to change the grid template columns to repeat value to 2 to display the card layout to 2 columns. Here, you can see the card layout displayed in 2 columns. Now I'm going to copy the card container with its properties. Then paste it here. And I'm going to retain the modified properties and remove the rest. Now I'm going to make the card layout responsive for devices with a screen width of 835 pixels or less. First, I'm going to adjust the screen width to less than 835 pixels. Then in the card container, I'm going to change the grid template columns to repeat 1 to display the card layout in a single column. Here, you can see the cards displayed in a single column. Now I'm going to copy the card container. Then paste it here. And retain the modified properties and remove the rest. Now I'm going to make the card layout responsive for devices with a screen width of 450 pixels or less. First, I'm going to adjust the screen width to less than 450 pixels. Then I'm going to select the section tag and set margin left to 20px and margin right to 20px for the section left and right margins. I'm going to copy it and paste here. Now I'm going to select the class name card. In the card, set width to 100%. Here you can see the card with 100% width, and it adapts to the screen width. Now I'm going to copy the card selector and paste here, and keep the modified properties and remove the rest. Now let's adjust the screen width. As you can see, our card layout now well adapts to smaller screens. So the card layout CSS part is complete for now. Now we need to make this card layout draggable and reorderable using JavaScript. For that, I'm going to use a JavaScript library called Sortable.js that can create reorderable drag-and-drop lists and groups of HTML elements. So I'm going to open a new tab from the browser and search for the Sortable.js. Here I'm going to open the Sortable.js page. Here you can see a few examples created using Sortable.js and with its features. This is its code segment. This is a shared list that can share items between two groups. List with cloning option. List with disable sorting. List items with handles. A list with filtered items. List item swap threshold. This is a grid layout example. And with a few other sortable list examples. Now let's go to the Sortable.js GitHub page. First, I'm going to add this Sortable.js to our project folder. For that, I'm going to open this Sortable.js file. And copy the raw file. Then, in our project.js folder, I'm going to create a new file named Sortable.js. Then paste the code. Now I'm going to close it. And I'm going to link that Sortable.js file to our index.html file. Script tag with src. In JS folder, Sortable.js file. Now I'm going to link the main JavaScript file to the index.html file. Script with src. In JS folder, main.js file. Now I'm going to open the main.js file. Now let's start the JavaScript part for card layout using Sortable.js library. Let's go back to the Sortable.js GitHub page. Here you can see an example of items in a list. In UL parent element with list items, a variable name EL created by using UL tag ID. Here I'm going to copy this line and paste here. And change the variable name to card sortable. Also change the ID as card-sortable. Now I'm going to copy that ID. And paste it here as ID to the card's parent element. Now let's go back to the Sortable.js GitHub page. Here you can see the options of the Sortable.js. Now let's go to the example page. To add options to the card layout, I'm going to copy this example code segment. and paste it here. Now I'm going to replace card sortable to example 1 and remove the ghost class. Now the card layout should be draggable and reorderable. Let's see. Here you can see the Sortable JS working perfectly with our card layout. Here, let's change the animation value to 350 to change the moving speed on moving items. Here's the card moving animation with value 350. And we have an easing option for the animation. Here's the card moving with easing. I'm going to comment easing because I'm not using it for cards. Now I'm going to use these class name options for cards. Copy. Paste here. Now let's see how these class names impact the cards. Here you can see when I drag a card, the Sortable Chosen and Sortable Ghost classes are automatically applied to the card. Now let's make the necessary changes to these classes according to our preferences using CSS. First, I'm going to select the class name Sortable Drag. Paste here. Set opacity to 0. Now let's see. Here you can see the card dragging ghost is not visible when I'm dragging a card. So I'm going to set its opacity to 1. Here you can see the dragging is visible when dragging the card. Now let's select the class name Sortable Chosen. Opacity to 0. Here you can see the dragging card is not visible when dragging. I'm going to set its opacity to 1. Now it is visible. Now I'm going to get the class name Sortable Ghost. Here I'm using the class name Sortable Ghost with the class name Sortable Chosen. Opacity to 0. Here you can see when dragging a card it has become hidden and only its dragging is visible. So this is how we want it to our project. Now let's see how to save this reordered card layout using the Sortable JS store option. Here you can see the example code segment to saving the sorted items in a group. So I'm going to copy this code segment. Then paste it here. And I'm going to remove these comments. Here I'm going to change the group name as Card Sortable Example. Now let's see if it works. First, I'm going to go to Application. In Local Storage, File. Now let's rearrange the card layout. Then let's reload the page. Here you can see the rearranged card layout remains unchanged even after reloading the page. Here you can see when I rearrange the card layout. By default, the new arrangement is saved in local storage in a letter format with the group name we given. Now I'm going to add a data ID like this to each card, so we can easily identify the card store values in the local storage. Copy this. Paste here. Data ID equals 1 for the first card. Then data ID equals 2 for the second card. Data ID equals 3 for the third card. Data ID equals 4 for the fourth card. Data ID equals 5 for the fifth card. Now let's see how it stores the card's rearrangement to the browser local storage with data ID. First, I'm going to reload the page. Then let's rearrange the cards. Here you can see it stores the card rearrangement with the data ID numbers we have given to each card. Here you can see the rearranged card layout remains unchanged on reloading the page, and even if you close and open the browser again, because every new change of the card layout always saved in the browser local storage. Now our rearrangeable drag-and-drop card layout is complete. So hope this tutorial will be useful to you. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and share this knowledge with others. Thank you for watching.